Who is the most popular politician in the United States? There isn't a perfect metric for determining that, but this guy has a pretty good claim to that spot. Who is he? He's the former owner of a construction company. He is a champion stock car racer, but most importantly, he leads over 600,000 people in the nation's second smallest state. The man I'm speaking of is Governor Phil Scott, Republican of Vermont. A Republican with a staggering 75% approval rating, in the same state that elects prominent progressive Bernie Sanders to the Senate, and voted for Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election by a larger margin than any other state with 32 percentage points, Scott seemingly defies all the conventions of a polarized political era. So today, let's explore Phil Scott's rise to prominence, his policy record while in office, and if his vision might be replicable at the national level. Early in his adult life, Scott was a businessman, becoming a co-owner of Dubois Construction in 1986. His political career began when he was elected to the Vermont State Senate in 2000. One of Scott's major accomplishments as a state senator was founding Wheels for Warmth, a service initiative that buys used tires, resells safe tires, and donates profits to local heating fuel assistance programs. The 2010 elections presented a very favorable environment for Republicans nationwide, and Scott took advantage to win the election to become Vermont's next lieutenant governor. Though he was aided by the spoiler effect of third-party candidates, as he won without clearing 50% of the vote, Scott still showed early signs of his unique appeal, running 2 percentage points ahead of the defeated Republican candidate for governor. As lieutenant governor, Scott's name recognition and favorability grew further, and after 6 years in that position, he successfully won the governorship in the 2016 election by a margin of 9 percentage points. Now we know just how Phil Scott got to be the governor of Vermont, but a 9-point margin of victory doesn't just turn into a 50-point margin in nearly 3 years as America's most popular governor on its own. So what makes him so popular at home? Scott is a Northeastern Republican, a subset of Republican ideology with center-left views on social issues. Essentially, he is fiscally conservative and socially liberal. As such, Scott is most aligned with the National Republican Party on economic issues. Throughout his time as governor, Scott has pledged not to sign budgets raising spending at a greater rate than that fiscal year's economic growth, and worked with the legislature to implement modest tax cuts across the board, as well as implementing tax reforms to remove the Social Security tax for lower income brackets and add new tax credits for earned income and charitable contribution. He has also investigated inefficiencies in government and merged redundant entities, a policy mostly associated with Republicans. However, Scott is more closely aligned with the National Democratic Party on issues unrelated to economics. He has signed restrictive gun laws that expanded background checks and limited the sale of certain magazines, among other provisions. Scott is also pro-choice and signed one of the most wide-ranging abortion rights laws in the nation, and he is a supporter of LGBTQ+ rights. Scott's largest difference from the National Republican Party is his opposition to President Donald Trump. He has criticized Trump's policies on immigration and climate change, supported both of Trump's impeachments, and voted for the Democratic Party presidential nominee in 2020 and 2024. But more than just policy makes Scott such a strong political force. Extreme partisanship has been historically frowned upon in Vermont, and Scott appeals to that idea among Vermonters by acting as a moderating force against the far more progressive Democrat-controlled legislature. He is also known for his down-to-earth personality, illustrated by one anecdote where he himself mowed the grass around a beloved statue in his hometown throughout the year 2023. Now for the ultimate question. Is the Phil Scott agenda and its popularity replicable at the national level? Let's start with his right-leaning positions. With regard to taxes, a 2023 survey found that 71% of Americans were at least somewhat frustrated with the amount they paid in federal taxes, a ringing endorsement of Scott's position on the matter. 80% of the American public also supports a constitutional amendment requiring balanced budgets, not unlike Scott's position on increasing the budget only in accordance with economic growth. As for Scott's left-leaning positions, 63% of Americans support legalized abortion in all or most cases, and 61% say it is too easy to obtain a gun, both results agreeing with Scott. And 52% of Americans concur with Scott and disapprove of President Trump. If we use those 5 issues as the pillars of the Phil Scott agenda, the percentages average out to a resounding 65% figure for his support in total. That would seem to indicate his vision is certainly replicable at the national level, but national politics is strange. If such strong majorities support balanced budgets, gun restrictions, and legal abortion, why are they not law already? The reality is that comparing state and national politics is often akin to comparing apples and oranges. and the national political environment is currently trapped in a cycle of polarization, partisan squabbles, and refusal to compromise. But maybe if our national politicians could learn something from the down-to-earth guy with the lawnmower and broadly popular agenda, a return to the days of good governments will be within reach.